Today we're going to be fixing a leaking oil cooler on this 2002 7.3 Powerstroke. Now the oil coolers on these trucks are a pretty common leakage spot, but the good news is it's a pretty simple fix. To start with, you're going to have to drain your coolant and drain your engine oil. The truck holds 4 gallons of oil. It holds about 8 gallons of coolant. You're not going to get every single drop of coolant out, but do have a couple of 5-gallon buckets on hand just for that. Now, before you drain the radiator, come up here, take the radiator cap off. If you leave the radiator cap on as fluid starts draining, it's going to create a vacuum in the cooling system, and you're not going to get as much out as you could until you open the system somewhere else, and then it's just going to dump all over you. Now, once you have removed your radiator cap, come right down here to the bottom of your radiator, and this little white tab here, this is your radiator drain. I've already drained the radiator here. That's why that's wet. You should get about 5 gallons out of the radiator right there. I told you the system holds 8, so you're not going to get everything, but you will get about 5 gallons right here. All right, so we are under the truck now, and you can see right here, this is your oil filter housing. This is actually the back of the oil cooler. So you will drain the engine oil right there with that drain plug. Take your filter off, and then if you look right here, you can see I've already got it loose, but this threaded port looking deal, this is your engine block heater, and this cord, that's the cord that goes to your front bumper to plug in the block heater when it's cold. It's got these 2 little metal tabs on it. You can spin this metal collar and it will unthread itself if you need to, or you can just grab these little tabs with a thumbnail or a screwdriver and pull them back. But this just pulls straight out of that connection right there. And then this here, this tube that I'm pointing at, this is your oil cooler, and this is what we've got to reseal. So you're not going to get all the coolant out when you drain the radiator. Now there is a block drain plug that you might be able to see right in that area that you might potentially be able to remove. Mine was really stuck, so I didn't want to try to fight with it under here. I pulled the 3 mounting bolts out of the rear section of this oil cooler, and I'm just letting it drain here in this pan for a few minutes and get more of that antifreeze out before I go break it loose in the front and take those bolts out. If you can pull the block drain plug out, that's a really good option. If you can't, you can just take the mounting bolts out and let it drain this way for a few minutes. This is slower, but it will work. Okay, so while that drains, we're going to come up here to the front, and you can see the oil all over my cross member and the steering gear there where this thing has been leaking. The front of the oil cooler is right there where the light is. And you can see there's 1 bolt there at the bottom, kind of in the, it looks like it's in the bend of that radiator hose, and then just go directly above it, and there is your 2nd bolt. That's what you're going to have to remove in the front to get the oil cooler assembly out of the truck. All right, so here's our oil cooler out of the truck, looking at it from the block side. There's your block heater. Here's the rear mount, here's the front mount, and you can see where mine was leaking underneath this front mount pretty noticeably here. All right, now that we've got our oil cooler out, you can see the back part has this locating tab right here. The front part doesn't. It doesn't make a huge difference, but I always like to mark these just to make sure they go back in about the same orientation they came out. Probably not a necessity, but it can't hurt, right? Now to take this apart is really simple. Just take a soft-faced hammer and knock the end caps off. There's one. And there's 2. Now here's our oil cooler. You can see we've got a very hard seal right here and another seal right here. There's an O-ring on the, what in the crap is that? Let me show you guys what I just found here stuck in the end. I guess somebody had some RTV or something at some point that got down in the system. That's just an old chunk of RTV. Now you see we've got our seal here and our seal here. There's also a seal that goes on each end, in the cap, and those stuck in the caps. So if you do this job, double check and make sure you didn't have a seal get stuck down inside here, because when you go to put it back together, I just threw that one across the floor, but when you go to put it back together, that will prevent you from being able to reassemble it properly. And you can see these seals just get hard and start to break. All right, so here is our new seal kit. This is a Felpro ES72519. This was about $15 at the local auto parts store. You can get these on Amazon. You can get them from a Ford dealer if you want to pay a lot more than that, but this is what we're using. Now, it's got your two big O-rings that go in here, and then it comes with 4 of the end cap O-rings, but we're only going to need 2 of those. And then you've got your gaskets for the front and rear where they attach to the block. Now, there are a lot of different ways you will see guys do this job. It's one of those things, ask 5 different mechanics how to do this and you'll probably get 6 different answers. Some guys do this in the truck. They only unbolt the rear housing and then they separate this thing underneath the truck, swap the seals out, and then press it back together with a pry bar. I have tried that and I have never had good luck doing it that way. So I just got in the habit of always pulling these things off to reseal them. For me, that seems to work a lot better. Like with anything, your mileage may vary. Where did I scratch on it? Here we go. Now, when it comes time to reassemble these, there are a few different ways to do it. Like I mentioned, some guys use the pry bar underneath the truck. I've never had a whole lot of luck with that. Other guys say you just need to put the end cap on, set it on something firm, and hit it with a dead blow hammer or some other kind of soft face hammer. I've done that in the past. I really don't like it because I just don't like hammering on these cast aluminum end caps. They are kind of prone to breaking. So I'm going to do this in the press. You don't have to have a press to do it, but I'm just being somewhat overly cautious and would rather do it in the press so that I know everything is slow and smooth and controlled, but you absolutely don't have to do it that way. All right, there we go. Let's go put it back in. We got our oil cooler resealed, it's reinstalled, put 4 gallons of oil in, about 3 gallons of coolant. We drained out more than that, but there's a couple of air pockets we're gonna have to burp out. So let's start it up, double check for leaks, and bleed the air out of the cooling system. Okay, so our oil cooler is resealed. The oil and coolant are both changed, which is regular maintenance that needed doing anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if this is the kind of content you want to see. Thank you for watching, and more later.